Are we going to overpay a guard and lose out on a defensive tackle? No. We'd rather pay the player that we think is a better talent.
The big news yesterday was the salary cap that is being estimated. They don't have the exact number out there, but a two-part question. A, did you kind of have an idea of general area it was going to fall in? And B, how much does that help you being one of the teams that's currently over the cap?
Yeah, we'll take anything we can get, right?
Yeah.
Joey Lane was thinking about, we were about 2 under, which is good for us, the estimation. So, yeah, so we budget off of that, and kind of do our planning off of that. So, yeah, he was really close.
So, John,
and we'll still find out exactly, what it is.
Yeah. So you always have an idea, though, right?
Yes.
Generally.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, do you try to get it like right on the nose? What's the closest you've ever gotten?
Well, we had some insider stuff for a number of years. So Matt Thomas had a couple great connections. So we were kind of dialed in for, several years. I can't get into it. Sorry. I wish I could tell you.
Yeah,
the show's so amazing. I can't say exactly what I want to say.
We understand. We understand that part.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got done with the meetings and excited to, get a haircut, get cleaned up, and head down to the combine and meet with all the teams, all the agents, and all the prospects. And it's always a grinder, but it's we learn a lot down there. So we're ready to go. Got our board together, and yeah.
Well, I feel like every year you add something to. I mean, because it's gotten more and more like 25, 30 years ago. Well, 40 years ago, they didn't have, you had like a coach would go visit a guy and then he'd come back and tell you about it.
Yeah, right.
Now you've got all of this stuff. So is it getting like more and more technical and you get more and more information each and every year? Or is it constantly changing?
It's constantly changing. I would say, we've leaned heavily on, the analytics portion with Patrick Ward and Becca in there, which is, is fun because we give them a lot of grief. They have a blast with it because they do like a hype score basically. So they say the guy's going to be predicted to be drafted in the second round. It's basically like taking like every mock draft you could ever think of, and they throw it in the computer and whatever. And then they say based on our critical factors what we like. Which I can't get into.
Yeah, right.
They put that in there, and then they say, we value this player as a 5th round player or a 2nd round player, and so, which is great because it's it's this new way of kind of like, okay, wait, so, guys have gone to the school, they've done all the research, they've talked to all their sources and all the coaches and the trainers and the equipment people and everything, and then now we have this other view that's, and they're like, hey, I think this guy's a 2nd round player. Okay, great. That's cool. So then you have the analytics.
That's analytics to you.
And then, no, that's the scouts, right?
Okay.
And then you have the analytics people that are like, well, we think he's a 5th round player. So there's always kind of this, hey, wait a second now. But it's fun. It's we have a blast in there. And it's fun. So like, Mo's in there as well, player development, Sue Campbell, Mo Kelly, Soup Campbell, player development, Georgia head of security's in there with us, and then all the scouts, and we plow through it, man. I'm just really proud of everybody. I think I told you last week, like we have a nice language and a nice tempo we can go at now because we've been together so long, and it's neat to see a lot of the younger guys too. Like we talked about Jack Green last week and Azam and Harrison, and these guys are just. They're learning quick and they're doing a great job. It's fun. It's just fun to watch everybody interact, grow, and to finally put that thing together. It's basically a blank board, right? And now we, have a ton of names up there. So now we're on to the next phase. So now we have questions on all those players. We'll spend the next several weeks trying to get those questions answered. Months, I guess, 2 months, whatever.
You're like a proud papa. You're like, look,
feels like it.
Look, I taught them. Look at them.
No, that's
they're
not
doing
it.
it on their own.
No,
walking.
No. The guys. I mean, I'm just really proud of Trent and and Willie and Nolan and all these guys that have like really coached these people up. It's awesome. It's a really cool process to see.
Hey,
I wish you guys could sit in there. Really, it's pretty fun. I told the trainers, I was like, they're like, yeah, what position you guys on? I'm like, just come on up, sit in the back and listen. It'd be kind of fun.
You can't say that to Dave and I?
I could, but I wouldn't mean it, you know?
It'd be a big joke, but yeah. Just back to the salary cap situation for a moment. When you say you're like within $2 million, we still need
estimating.
Estimating where it's going to be, and we still need to see where the final number is. But in that instance, if it's higher than you thought, and hey, now we've got $4 million more than we thought we'd have, do you look at that as the difference between this guy may have been a cap casualty, but now we've got this money, or is it, hey, now this is something that'll be targeted? Do you have
really
plans
good
in mind for that?
Great question, and we usually find that out at the combine. You know, we'll find out exactly like, okay, what are other people looking at? Other free agents, like, okay, they want to make X, right? They want to make this guy. We thought, you know, he wants to make player X wants to make $8 million, right? And then, you know, we find out, okay, well, actually, he's going to make 4. By the end of the weekend, we kind of say, hey, okay, the agent may come back to us and be like, hey, this guy's, you know, not going to have the market that we thought. And then you can say, okay, well then maybe there won't be another cap casualty, right? But every honestly, like every $1 million is huge for us, right? And so you're just constantly moving this puzzle around. So we're trying to decide if we can keep you both, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe we have to let Dave go. I mean, sorry, Dave. I didn't mean like that. He's just sitting right here. Easy fodder. Easy fodder.
He can't respond. That's the beauty.
So, but you know, we'll find that we usually it doesn't affect it as much as you would think. But there are surprises every year at the after we get done talking to everybody, and you can say, okay, well, if that individual wants to make $10 million, we're out of that. So we're going to have to pivot and go over here.
Hey, I've talked about, you know, before that every year you learn something new and you write things in your notebook and all of that. But at one point, you consulted Theo Epstein.
Yeah.
So you're talking to guys from other sports, and tell us about that one in specifically, like what did you learn from that? What do you want to know?
So that was those guys. You know, they were just won the world championship, and we were trying to build our analytics department, and it was just a best practices thing. They wanted to understand our background research. You know, at the time we were kind of known as like the grit group. We were kind of ahead of like. It was just like that. We were edgy, right? We had those grit guys. And so it was really like they wanted to find out, like, how much, like, what are you looking at? What are the questions? What's the research? How do you go about it? Like, what's the best practice, for the character portion and learning who the person is and the competitor and the brain and all that kind of stuff. And then we were just Patrick Ward had just got here, and we were trying to build our analytics group out, and they were just, I literally sat in their kind of press box, their like general manager's box with them during a game. And he's like, could call down to the manager. I was like, well, that would never happen in the National Football League, but they're so heavily driven by analytics that it was really cool. We just learned a ton from those guys, and like what their draft board looked like, and how they built theirs. So. Yeah, it's fun. When Sam and I went to New Zealand and spent time with the All Blacks and the rugby team, we went about, I would say, 6 or 7 years ago now. And we learned a ton with those guys, too, in terms of player development. So one of the teams had like 32 players on their team, and they had like, I think it was 6 player development people. So like a military person, former player, team clinician, chaplain. And so we're thinking to ourselves, learning from that best practices was that whole trip we went on was like, wait a second, we'll have like 120 players through here. We need to build up our, and we have one guy doing it, with Mo. We're putting a lot on Mo, right? Mm-hmm. So we need to build out that department and, understand what all the players need in different areas. But so you're constantly it was fun. We spent time with the America's Cup team. They were hosting the America's Cup, and those guys were a blast. They can drink a lot of beer, those guys. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But that was fun. So they were like, it's like doing more with less, and what their rules are. I never knew. Every year not every year, but when they host it, you decide what the parameters are for the boat. like the length and the depth of the keel and all that kind of stuff. So, and then what kind of sails you can use. And
Wow.
yeah, it was fascinating. So just kind of like, you're just constantly looking for, we're chasing edges is what
there you go.
Coach Mike says. So yeah, we're just chasing edges, Dave.
Hey, you brought up how you might look at a guy and feel like, hey, he's a second-round pick, but your analytics guys say, we have him as a fifth round.
Yeah.
How do you – I'm a big baseball fan.
Yeah.
And analytics are certainly a part of it. But
Yeah.
to me, there are people that are all or nothing. Here's what the analytics say, and that's the truth, and anything outside of that isn't. And,
Right.
and people stop using their eyes.
Right.
I think there's got to be a healthy balance. And baseball, I feel, relies on analytics much more, certainly.
Right.
But how do you balance what your eyes are telling you and what you hear from a player versus what the analytics are saying, if there is that big of a difference?
It's really, at the end of the day, it's listening, taking in all the information you could possibly take in, and then just going with what to your point, what your eyes and your gut tell you. And that's just through experience and building out, the library over the years of players and people that I've studied. And so to listen to as many people as you possibly can, whether it is analytics or it's an equipment person or a trainer or a coordinator or a running back coach or
Or what the game tape is
exactly,
telling you.
and then bringing that all the way back to what exactly at the end of the day, like what is it? Like this is how we envision the player, and then in the draft, it's all about trying to figure out like how to acquire the player, So yeah, and the analytics part of it is, we had. Rashad Penny's not, is retired now, so I can tell you this story. But, I the first time I studied him, I was basically like, well, level of comp isn't very good, and he's got these huge lanes that he's running through, and he's big, and he's super fast, right? Like, really explosive. And so I had kind of graded him down a little bit. Patrick and his group, the analytics guys, were like, he's actually the number one running back on our board after contact. And I was like, I don't, I disagree with that. Like, we got into it a little bit. I was like, nah, I don't see that. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go back. So I went back and just did it. There's actually, you can sort this now on the computer. It's amazing to be able to do that and say, okay, let's see all this guy's all of his runs, that are behind the line of scrimmage. I forget what it's called, but it's basically like his productive runs after contact behind the line of scrimmage. And it's just, you just watch all those plays and you're like, I didn't see that. So you can have an opinion going in just based on a level of competition or what you've seen, or if it's, you've seen him play on TV and you have a preconceived notion of what the player is before you sit down and actually study him. Right.
Right.
And so it's like, whoa, that's a great, I wouldn't have thought that until I sat down, and that's like one of the catches. It's like they're basically they're not saying, okay, they're saying, the analytics people are saying, this is how we see this player based on past performance, all that, just everything that goes into the formula that they put together, right, over years that he keeps working on. It's amazing. He's a fascinating person. You guys should have him on the show sometime. Anyway, no, but
what do you think, Dave? Did we get that? No, he says
Dave shaking you off.
No, but no, very talented man. But anyway, it's they're projecting out what the player is going to be, but it's also basically like an alert, right, to what some of our blind spots might be based on those preconceived notions that I was saying.
Hey, I was just looking at the coaches. I mean, I think there was like 8 or 9 when I played, and now there's like 25 to 30 or whatever. But the guys
34, but who's counting? Yeah, no,
is that right?
No, it's not.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what it is right now.
No,
I mean, it's about 30. Yeah,
but it's kind of cool. But the guys that you like, Rick Dennison, who I know from Denver and everything, those guys, I feel like there's it's at an all-time high where coaching is a premium, because like, look at Sam Darnold. Like, somebody spoke the right words to him, right? I mean, is that kind of how you look at it? And is that why you hire those guys like Rick Dennison, where it's like, this guy's an expert, he's had success, and it's not so much about his scheme or anything, but it's how he coaches it and what he says to the players.
Exactly, and you're on it. We talked last week about the development portion too, acquisition, obviously identification. Excuse me. very important. But being able to develop people and then work with the individuals that can accentuate people's skills or help them with their deficiencies, and it's so important. And they call him Rico, I guess. So Rick Dennis is a nickname. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
He's entered in my phone that way.
Okay, it is really okay. But and then Justin Outen, we Mike hired him as well, and he's former center. So offensive line emphasis really, right? So Rick Dennison, Justin Outen, and John Benton, and those guys are 3 really strong teachers right there.
Hey, it's interesting what people pull from these conversations and becomes the big talking point.
Okay.
Last year it was when we talked guards. Yeah. And you had made a statement that guards were often overdrafted and overpaid.
Yes.
We've seen the team have trouble at that spot.
Yes.
It looks like an area of need.
Yes.
Has your philosophy changed on that at all, or morphed at all based on what the experience has been?
Well, I would say that it's the statement, I guess, is really, it's not a level of importance. It's extremely important. It's highly valued, but we still to this day, because of the dearth of talent at the position, will overpay at that position and will overdraft at that position. And we've been guilty of it, and we probably will be guilty of it in the future as well. It's just based on a level of talent. So it's not. It's a position that everybody is looking for, right? And we talked about the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, like what happened there, right? And they have that was rough. That was a rough go for those guys. I mean, every team, I would say there's probably about 2 or 3 teams that have really good offensive lines. I'm talking college football, pro football, everything, right? So the philosophy is not like we're not gonna like overpay. We probably will because we have to, right?
Right.
But you have to be smart with those decisions, right? So what is the difference in, are we gonna take away? Are we gonna overpay? Are we gonna overpay a guard and lose out on a defensive tackle? No, we'd rather pay the player that we think is a better talent. It's kind of like drafting for need, right? In the draft, right? Are you going to just, you have to take this player, and then you go right by, Dave Wyman, who's a better player than the offensive lineman because, I've seen him smash guards.
Hey, hold on. This is the first time he's said something positive.
Oh, slow down there, Sheriff.
Playing ability.
This guy was smash people, man. But so it's like we talked about supply and demand, and so it's really it's never like a level of like it's not important, or like we have this philosophy where we don't
you don't value them.
Yeah, like I worked with somebody that used to say a guard is a guard is a guard, and you don't pay them. I did work with somebody like that, right, in my past, but that's not the case with us. It's really like, okay, we have to put a value on people on people at the end of the day, and that's just I know exactly what you're talking about, because it was really like, it's and it happens every year. We see, we'll see it this weekend too. When we go down to the combine, they'll be like, hey, the guys, this player is we would grade him as a solid backup or a solid starter. There's 2 grades like that. This guy's a solid starter. The guy might be a solid backup in our eyes, but he's going to get paid like a difference maker, which is 2 grades up, right? It's like, whoa, so. I don't know if that answered it, but that's. Yeah. I'm glad we got that out of the way. That was good. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Was that guy Alex Gibbs, by the way?
Alex Gibbs.
Because Schlereth used to tell us when I was with him that he said, I can get a bum off the highway to play guard. Give me a tackle.
No.
Wasn't him?
No, I can't tell you. Yeah. Sorry. No, but no.
Yeah, it's just one of those.
But some offensive line coaches would tell you, like, I'll coach this guy up. Like, I got, and I'm sure guys that are as talented as Alex would say that. Yeah,
but it's interesting that that's the one position that most people don't understand. watching a game.
Yeah.
You know, the offensive line, and yet it's probably the most desired, right? And probably hardest to find.
Yes.
But yet you get all kinds of criticism, and it's just, I don't know, it's just always like I say, offensive linemen bonded by misery. they only
I can see that, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they only get pointed out, but I mean, when you hear what people are saying and things like that, are you like, no, that's not close? Or, you know, I mean, what people say about offensive line, I mean, it just seems like you sound like you're an expert, but really almost nobody is.
When I watch a game, when I watch us play, I'm watching our offensive line. I'm watching our defensive line, right? Through the binoculars, right? The lens of it.
Right.
That's what I watch. I don't necessarily watch the quarterback's feet and all that kind of stuff. I'm not like, you know, I'm looking like what's happening up front. Okay. And then the defensive line too. So I watch that way back when I'm watching the game live.
Right.
So it's like, what's important? That's what's important, because if that's not going well, nothing else is going well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, are you surprised? Maybe you're not. It's probably like this in every city. Quarterback's the most important position. It's the most visible position. But it seems like in this city that Geno Smith is very polarizing. People love him, or they think he's a backup.
Oh, really?
I call him the ultimate gray area guy. I think he's very good. I don't think he's elite. I think he's very good.
Yeah.
Everybody else he's absolute one way or the other. And DK, to a certain extent, is very polarizing as well.
Okay.
Does that surprise you at all? Like, do you feel like they lived up to what you expected last year, that not quite, or are you even aware of how polarizing they are?
No, I'm not. I guess I'm not really aware of that. I mean, the quarterback of your football team is always going to be the most polarizing, probably, right? Sure. And then, you know, DK's so talented and explosive, and such a, you know, he's on TV and commercials and stuff, right? So yeah, I could see that. But what was the second part? Sorry.
Well, how did they live up to your expectations last season?
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the back and forth.
DK, you know, was injured, and then you know, we just struggled offensively there for a minute, and he didn't get quite as many targets. You know, he probably should have.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
But I don't know. I don't know how polarizing they are, but But and then Geno, you know, and I thought Geno, you know, especially, you know, playing through the injury there at the end. I mean, he really sucked it up.
You don't listen to the show every day. You're not constantly listening to us.
I'm not in the nest. I'm not in the nest every single day. No.
What's the next thing for you?
The next thing is getting, like I said, you know, getting a haircut this weekend and reviewing the board, and then next is the game. You guys gonna watch the game, the hockey game tonight?
Oh yeah,
well, there's that.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, I'm gonna watch that tonight for sure. But then, you know, just getting ready to go down to the combine. You know, we're scheduling all of our meetings tomorrow, and we'll get with the salary cap guys and the pro guys and set up the whole schedule.
Sounds like the haircut's really important.
It really is. I'm feeling pretty scraggly, to be honest with you. So
we asked him about O-line. He's like, well, let me tell you about my hair. Are we talking to you from the combine?
You asked about the weather? No, you asked about the temperature? The Saturday Night Live skit. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You guys see that?
Oh, yeah.
You asked about the temperature? I did not.
Are you here next week, or at the combine will be happening?
We're doing it from the combine.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So on the phone next week.
Yep.
Good.
It'll be an amazing show. Yeah.
It will. It's always amazing.
Tune in.
We appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you guys.